Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Up Your Alley. It's a podcast with two best friends. That's me. My name is Taylor Edgar. With me, as always, is my best friend Jake Baggett. Say hi, Jake.
Hey, buddy.
It's a show where we recommend things to each other, do a little homework, come back the next week to talk about them. This week, we are talking about Jake's recommendation for me, 2021 episode of the podcast Darknet Diaries, hosted by Jack Rhysider. This episode focusing on the Pirate Bay, and my recommended for Jake, 2013 Jake Gyllenhaal starred film Enemy, directed by Denis Villenueve. Before we get into that, I want to remind everyone, just click subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and comment and leave like and all that good stuff. Really helps with the algorithm, and we appreciate it. For all the new listeners, we're up over 600 now.
Hey,
trying to get to 1,000, so we really appreciate you telling your friends about the show.
Yeah, we're close.
And all that stuff. I know. Yeah, baby steps.
Silly.
How you doing, bud?
I'm doing all right, man.
Good. How's your week been since last we spoke?
Oh, just as well. Just as well.
So I need to talk to you kind of based on one of the things we're talking about this week, Denis Villenueve.
Right.
I got to see an early showing of Dune 2. I guess by the time this comes out, Dune... Well, we're doing this on Leap Day, so Dune's out tomorrow when this podcast goes out. But I got to see it last Sunday at the hazy Airbus, whatever it's called, National Air and Space Museum IMAX.
That's the good IMAX.
I got to tell you, man, you're going to go see this movie, obviously.
Yeah.
This weekend or some...
No, I don't know. I'm going to have to get somebody. My friends are going Sunday. I work Sundays.
That's a bummer.
Upsetting.
I might go see it again on Sunday.
See what I mean?
So, first reactions out of the gate, I loved it.
Yeah.
It was really good. I think it was better than the first one.
Nice.
And, I mean, that's kind of unfair just because they are two halves of one book.
Yeah.
And the second half of the book is usually better than the first half of the book.
Well, yeah, you're getting to the meat of it.
Yeah. I feel like they really did a great job in the first movie, and I really enjoyed the first movie. I enjoyed the world of the first movie.
We saw that together in theaters.
We did.
Yes.
And I've watched it since on just streaming since it's been out.
Yeah.
It's weird to me how this book kind of transcends. It's one of the nerdy things that big-time nerds have been nerds about for a while.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that my dad is a huge nerd about. He has been since, I mean, this Dune came out, what, 1964?
I mean, you got me, man.
Yeah, I believe it. I want to say off the top of my head it was 64.
But it's it's sci-fi, which means nerds.
So I went and saw it with my brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law's friend, and we were chit-chatting about this. You came up, obviously, because some of them are podcast listeners, and I was like, I don't think Jake is a huge Dune fan.
I mean, I like the movie.
Right.
And I like the David Lynch movie for what it's worth.
Why, though? Is it just because it's so David Lynchy?
Yeah. It's because it's Lynchian, and it's just, like, it's a weird movie.
It is a weird movie.
Fun.
I haven't seen all of it. I've seen snippets of it, and every now and again, like now that people are talking about the new Dunes, they'll be like, look how silly this was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, that does look very silly, and it's got Twin Peaks in there.
Yeah.
And he's 45 years old trying to play a 15-year-old.
He's great.
Yeah.
Kyle MacLachlan.
Twin Peaks.
I love him.
He's Twin Peaks.
He's got Sting in his iconic underwear.
Yeah, as Austin Butler is playing the character Sting used to play.
Does he still have the Elvis accent?
He does not.
All right, pretty mama. Hey, oh. Oh, boy, that's a big old worm right over there. Oh.
I'm glad new listeners get to hear you do voices. Right?
I love it.
First couple minutes before
this
they
is
drop
Austin
off.
Butler. Oh, baby, I can't stop.
Oh, God, I'm too tired not to laugh at your nonsense. But he's a great villain playing Fade Rotha.
Yeah, he did a good job.
It's a very strange performance. He really goes for it.
Oh,
People have compared it to Heath Ledger as the Joker. I don't think that's a fair comparison, just because, one, he doesn't do as much because it's not as big a part of the movie. The villain who I think doesn't...
I'm fighting doing an Elvis impersonation
of the
so
Joker?
much for you. Yes.
Of Elvis as the Joker?
Yes, I'm trying my best. I'm not going to do it.
You want to know how it got these calls?
Yes, that's exactly
what you're going to do?
Yeah. Oh, well. My mama didn't like me. He starts jigging and dancing around. Oh my gosh. Yeah, man. I don't believe it for 1 second that Austin Butler is like stuck in an Elvis accent. I don't believe it for 1 second.
No.
It's still very fun though.
Yes, it is. It's very fun. Yeah, but yeah, it was very good. I think Dave Bautista did a great job reprising his role.
Yeah.
I think this movie benefited from not being shot back to back, because I think the original plan, if I'm not mistaken, the original plan was to shoot them back to back, Lord of the Rings style, like film part 1 and part 2. But because this did get filmed and was in pre-production stuff right around COVID times, they didn't have the money to do both parts. So they put out the first part, and then it hit. And I think it was like 2 days after the first one came out, they greenlit the second part.
Yeah.
I think especially...
I like that because I remember because that movie ends with, end of part 1.
Right.
And it was like the second one wasn't even greenlit yet. They were like, oh, it's
ballsy, though.
That's ballsy. That's cool.
But I think especially Chalamet benefited from that little gap.
Yeah.
And he benefited from everyone being like, oh my God, he did such a great job playing Paul that he goes for it. I haven't seen him in much.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen the new Wonka. I want to, but haven't seen it yet. He crushes it. Like, he knocks it out of the park. He's very believable as that kind of fantasy hero that puts on, like, in a weird way, like the big boy pants and like takes over in a way that you don't see very often. Like Luke Skywalker doesn't really have that moment where he stands up. He does it just to the Emperor, but he's not like leading the Jedi or anything like that. Frodo doesn't really have that big moment where he's like, everybody follow me.
He becomes a leader.
Yeah, he goes a little
bring
more
it back to
Lord
of the Rings.
He goes full Aragorn.
He does. Yeah.
And Return of the King, where he's like, there will become a day when the strength of men fails, but it is not this day.
Yeah.
And he just fucking goes for it. And he's so believable as, he's a slim man. He's not an imposing figure.
Yeah, he looks like a
but
kid.
He puts some bass in his voice and just knocks it out of the park. Cannot recommend it. I will say this.
I mean, I really like the first one. So definitely want to see the second.
See it on the biggest screen you possibly can.
Yeah, that IMAX in Air and Space Museum is no joke.
My problem with that is...
It's really big.
It is very big. But it's a government-run institution.
National Air and Space Museum?
National.
Yeah,
it's part of the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
So, bottled sodas, pre-popped popcorn, no cup holders. There's no cup holders.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a learning environment.
Yeah, you're supposed to watch like a 30-minute thing about birds.
I mean, I watched, one about butterflies. Honestly, I've seen one there.
Oh, what about butterflies, Jake?
They're beautiful, especially if you see them in a big, big screen. And I watched one on the ISS, and that was great. International Space Station.
For some reason, I thought you said ISIS. I was like,
and I watched one on ISIS, and I was like, I gotta watch this on the big screen.
Who filmed ISIS in IMAX?
I watched a thing about space stations at the Air and Space Museum.
That's kind of cool.
It was great.
Yeah, I'd never been to that Air and Space Museum before.
I love that museum.
Shout out to them. They're pretty cool.
I had a friend that worked there.
Oh, really?
She got to see Neil Armstrong's spacesuit.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. That one that he filmed on that sound studio when he faked the moon landing?
Yeah, you know what was crazy? It's got holes in it. And I was like, how does it have holes in it? It's like, yeah, there's like tiny little asteroids that just zing right through it. And I was like, how does that not decompress? It's like, oh, his skin lifted up, off, and plugged a hole.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
How come I've never heard that before?
Because we're not asking the right questions.
That's a terrifying space fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's terrifying, isn't it? Tiny, tiny little asteroids that just go zoo right
Wait,
through.
So it's like when you like put your... Have you ever done like the vacuum cleaner that has the hose attachment?
Yeah.
And you put your hand over it and
It's
it
like
sucks
that?
it in?
Uh-huh.
But it's your
skin.
getting ripped out into the
But it's not ripped. It's not pushing through.
vacuum of space.
Yeah. It's not a big enough hole to like rip you through. It's a pin-sized hole, but your skin just comes up and plugs it up.
No.
Yeah.
How have I never heard that before?
Because you don't ask the right questions. I ask the right questions. My friend.
Oh. That's terrifying.
I know. I loved finding that out.
Speaking of terrifying, though, I've got this book here.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at the title here.
Have you heard about this book?
No.
Okay, so it's a book by Cixin Liu, Chinese author. It's called The Three Body Problem.
Yeah.
This, shout out to a YouTube channel, guys, Quinn's Ideas. I found his YouTube channel a while ago. He does great documentaries about sci-fi and lore. Has a great series all about this book series, The Three Body Problem, and he has a good one on Dune. He also does like some Lovecraft stuff and everything like that.
This a novel?
Yes, it is a novel.
Oh, okay.
So it's his one's about Dune. I looked up because I had read Dune back in high school.
Yeah.
Because I read one of my favorite sci-fi novels, Ender's Game.
Yeah.
And my dad had told me all about Ender's Game, and he's like, "You got to read Dune." Read Dune, loved it. And then I had known a little bit about the second Dune book, and then I just heard from people that have read them all, just be like, after the second one, it really goes off the rails. So this guy, Quinn's Ideas, is the YouTube channel, and he has hour-long things breaking down all the Dune books, all the extended universe stuff, like just huge time sucks that you can get into for all this backstory and lore. This is one of the things that he recommended. It's more modern, and it's being adapted for Netflix.
Yeah.
Holy shit, this is so far up your alley.
Yeah.
So I started reading this book just based on the first little bit of, like, he gave like a backstory of what it's it's in a trilogy, and it's your kind of sci-fi, because I didn't think Dune was your kind of sci-fi, because I know you like science fiction, and I know you like fantasy, but you're not a huge fan of sci-fi fantasy.
I mean, it's not something that I poo-poo, but it's not something that I really look out for.
You like Star Trek more than Star Wars.
I like Star Trek. Have you ever read The Inverted World?
No.
That one's really cool. That one's pretty wild sci-fi, where the world isn't, spherical, it inverted in on itself, so time stretches out the further out you go.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and it's also, so it spins inward, so you have to try and stay at that curve, so all towns are on, like, wheels and stuff. Yeah, it's weird, but it's, like, heavy sci-fi ideas, but it's good. I really liked it.
Yeah, this is...
so this is fantasy, you're saying?
No. This is hard sci-fi.
Oh, okay.
It's aliens and stuff.
Stars My Destination. That one's amazing. Yeah. You would love it. I don't know if you read it.
I don't think so.
I'm going to have to get it to you. That one, Stars My Destination.
Well, this is going to be a Netflix series.
Okay.
I'd
probably rather read
crazy good.
Cool.
I'm most of the way through the book. I started reading the book, and then I would read it on my lunch breaks, and then it got so good that I went on Audible, and I bought the audiobook. Because I was like, I need to listen to this while I'm working, listen to this while I'm driving. It's just crazy good. It's got a good pace to it, like almost like a Michael Crichton throwback. Because my favorite book of all time is Sphere by Michael Crichton. Yeah. I've read that book probably 10 times. Damn. And it's that kind of just well-written, crazy sci-fi. Cannot wait for the show. But I know you're the type of guy that likes to read stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather read it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's really, the translation's pretty good. I will say this. So reading it, a lot of the characters are Chinese, and trying to do their names in my head and then putting on the audiobook, I was way off on most of these. I was like, it's like the first time I read Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Whenever that came out in like
middle school.
I said Hermione, because I had never seen the name Hermione or Hermione. I think I might have said, because I didn't know what Hermione was, and then I saw the movie. I'm like, Hermione, that makes a lot of sense.
That's actually really pretty.
I was as far off on these Chinese names as I was on anything else.
Oh, well, that's great. I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
I'll probably check it out.
Yeah, it's going to be on Netflix. I think Netflix. It's coming out next month on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 Body Problem. Fucking killer. Okay. So far up your eye. Anything else going on you want to get into, or?
No
games, nothing like that intriguing.
I mean, other than did I talk about Immortality yet?
No, what's Immortality?
Dude, that game's pretty cool. I think you might like it. I mean, it's on PlayStation now. It's called Immortality, and what it is trying to find out what happened to this actress named Marissa Marcel by watching all this backstage footage of like 3 different movies that she's in and interviews, and you scrub them and you find interesting things and you click on it and you watch different scenes from different movies to try and like capture who this person is and what's happened to her. And it's just really intriguing, and then it gets really creepy sometimes.
Is this a point and click?
Kind of. It's like you're an editor scrubbing through footage.
So this says it was released on Windows and Xbox Series S in August 2022, and then it has an Android and iOS port.
Yeah, and it's also on PlayStation.
Netflix, and now it's on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Huh. Never heard of this before.
And like it's been like it takes place in like the movies take place like from the 60s up to like the 90s, maybe 80s.
Really?
And it's just really cool to see, and like apparently they actually released these 3 movies that she's in, I guess actual movies. And
it's got actual actors and stuff.
Like it's real life. It's full motion video. The acting is incredible, and like the story, how it unfolds, is very unsettling. And I'm just, I had to take a break, so now I'm kind of like lost, but it's very cool.
Kind of like how I walked away from Return of the Obra Dinn for a day and a half, and then came back and I'm like,
what exactly
the fuck
like
am
that.
I doing?
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Pretty quick playtime, or?
I mean, I haven't beat it yet.
How long you been at it?
We were at it for 2 days, for maybe about 4 or 5 hours total.
Nice. Is it on PlayStation Plus or whatever it is?
No, I think I bought it. I think I bought it for like $30 or something like that.
From what I can tell through playthrough time things and everything, the game that I want to talk to you about next week, I've still got like 4 hours left in, and then I think I'm going to go into Helldivers.
Oh, I think I've been playing the hell out of that.
Yeah, looks pretty fun.
That's absolutely great.
I'm trying to find out if there's something else I want to talk to you about in my notes. the guy in front of me at the Dune showing, because, okay, so they didn't have reserve seating. Another bad thing about the government-run theater. No reserve seating. Once we crossed that threshold that there's reserved seating, you can't take that away. Like, that genie doesn't go back in that bottle. Once you give me, because you know me, when we go see a movie together, you know where I like to sit.
Right.
The row above, where there's the handicap access row, so you can stretch out your feet, stretch the ponies out as much as you want. Off to the side, you buy 2 seats in. No one buys the seats all the way on the aisle. You've got a little extra room on the aisle. Perfect viewing. That's where I like to go. You show up 10 minutes after the showtime starts, because I've seen all those trailers on YouTube. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
It's very true.
We go to this place. It's madness. Showing starts at 7 o'clock. We get there 5:15. My brother-in-law and his friend are already in line. And we're already probably 150 people back in the line.
Yeah, you sent me a picture.
Yeah. Dude up front.
That's insane.
We heard through the pipeline. Dude up front got there at 2 to show up.
Oh, yeah. Okay, assigned seatings. I was about to be a fight for being like, no, I'm fine with that.
Oh, you thought it's like a revolution, like the people seating chart, like everyone goes in?
Yes, I was like, seats for all. There's no, the bourgeois get the nice seats. No, I don't want to go back to waiting in front of a theater anymore.
Yeah, because I remember we saw the Avengers, 2012 Avengers. It was a midnight show, and we got there at like 10 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Barely got good seats.
Yeah. Wow,
it's a fucking madhouse.
I do remember that.
But the dude that was sitting, they let us in at like 6, so we could actually, they didn't want like a stampede, because there was no trailers in or anything like that. They just got started.
That's sweet.
So we got there like an hour, 6 o'clock, they let us all in. We got our seats, still good seats.
Yeah.
And then we could get up and like, hey, I'm going to go get popcorn and stuff like that, yada, yada, yada. Dude in front of me was just reading anime on his phone.
Yeah.
Like with his earbuds in. Yeah. Yeah, I guess you can't read anime. Sorry, that's my bad. Jake, that's more your speed. So he's reading manga.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's so on brand for how this is going on. And he just heard like all the side conversations that were going on at the Dune premiere. And I was like, these are good people.
Yeah.
Like everyone that's at Dune, like, and my brother-in-law brought this up. He was like, you don't have to worry about people screaming out or being dicks or being disruptive, because everyone's here for the same thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that oneness. It's like I talked about it when I went and saw the Taylor Swift movie with the kid. Everyone that's there is there because this is their fucking shit.
Yeah.
And that's where they want to be. And I love stuff like that. Yeah. It's like when we saw Madam Web. Everyone was there because of how much they loved.
There was barely anybody there.
Yeah. all 6 webheads were there. All right. Yeah. All right. I'm going to check this Immortality game out. It looks interesting.
Yeah, I think you might enjoy that, actually.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break, get a quick message from our sponsor. After that, we're going to talk about our recommendations. We'll see in just a sec. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in the world and is going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible, and that's important because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially if you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with your therapist, and there's a link in our description. It's betterhelp.com/Allie. That's betterhelp.com/Allie. Clicking that link helps you support this channel and also get you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect with a therapist to see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't fit in with your first therapist, and that's common, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without the stress of insurance or who's in your network or anything like that. I'm a big proponent of therapy, and anybody that knows me can attest to the difference that it's made in my life the past couple years, and I recommend this program to anybody. So if you're struggling, please consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Allie. That's betterhelp.com/Allie for 10% off your first month. And we want to thank BetterHelp for supporting our podcast. All right, we're back. First, we're going to get into my recommendation for Jake. We were just talking about Dune. This is a 2013 film by Dune director Denis Villenueve. Have we decided how we want to say that?
No, I've never. I'm not going to attempt. I like his movies a whole bunch, and I still I just have a hard time pronouncing things correctly anyway.
And here's the thing. So he's a French-Canadian guy. But famous in America. So you have three warring factions. I think you have French people saying it French ways, French Canadian people saying it in other ways, and Canadian people saying it a third way, and then Americans just doing whatever they want.
Denis Villenueve.
Yeah, there's Villenueve. I've heard Villenueve.
Yeah.
And then Denny, we're set on that. It's not Dennis.
Yeah.
But I've also heard Americans say, Dune by Denis Villenueve. And you're just like, all right, America, just not even really fucking trying there. But regardless, Denny, we'll call him Denny.
Yeah.
And
Denny.
So he made Dune, but this is one of his earlier movies.
Yeah. 10 years ago.
Have you seen all of his stuff?
No, I've seen...
his big ones were Prisoners and Enemy came out this year.
Yeah.
Sicario, nominated for an Academy Award for that.
Yeah, haven't seen it.
Arrival.
I've seen that.
And
that would be my first one that I saw.
Second Blade Runner.
And that's the one where I was like, I really liked Arrival enough that I wanted it. So I was like, I'll go see the second.
A great movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll go see the second Blade Runner movie.
Yeah.
Just based on the how it's like a sequel to Blade Runner is like a really wild idea. So
especially
I was like,
because they
not
made
sold
like
on that.
3 sequels to Blade Runner that were just director's cut. No, this is the director's
William C.
cut.
Dietz wrote Blade Runner 2, the book.
Oh.
And it follows Deckard running away with the replicant girl.
Huh.
Yeah, but they're like, I guess it's kind of weaved in, but it was like, that's pretty interesting that William C. Dietz was just like, I want to write the sequel.
Just take it from here.
Philip K. Dick's not around, is he? I'm just going to do it now.
We got it from here.
But then, so I was like, I like Denny enough. I want to try it. And it was awesome. I was like, this guy is incredible.
So, yeah, that's just him as a director. He didn't write any of those movies. Dune was actually the first big movie that he wrote and directed.
Did the screenplay for it.
So that's when he started. Well, obviously, yeah. No. That's when he starts going on his Christopher Nolan shit, where he's like, I'm going to be writer-director guy. And I wanted to go back on this one because I didn't want to talk about Arrival. This actually came up for me. The first time I heard about this movie was when you recommended a while back Primer.
Yeah.
And I had to watch... I talked about it in that episode. Go back and listen to the Primer episode. That was a good one. And... I had to watch two different YouTube documentaries. They're like, hey, here's how we're going to explain Primer to you. And on both of those, in the YouTube algorithm, the suggested stuff, this movie came up as Enemy explained. And I was like, I've never even heard of that. But you see the poster, and it's the poster of it, Spider and Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm like, I've never, I don't recall this movie ever coming out.
I remember hearing about this movie. I remember seeing the spider.
Right.
But... I don't know. I just kind of like didn't think about it anymore.
And so
when you're like,
I clicked on
one of those, I was like, great, cool. Like I would love to see this.
After I watched the Primer YouTube videos, I clicked on one of the ones for Enemy, and it just said Denis Villeneuve, and at this point I'd seen Dune and Arrival, and it was like, if you like Denis Villeneuve and if you like this type of cerebral thriller, and you want to go in blind, watch this movie now. That's when I watched it, and I was so glad I didn't see anything spoiled. Like I told you last week, the less you know about this movie going into it, like if you know nothing other than Denis Villeneuve, Jake Gyllenhaal, 90-minute thriller.
I would say, if that stuff sells you, you should watch the movie now.
Yes.
Because you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, and we have to get
because
into
I would say right now that I did enjoy it.
Okay, are you going to give this a 3?
Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
This is a 3 movie.
Okay, and so we are going to get into spoilers for this.
Sure.
Because we have to be two friends discussing the movie.
Yeah.
Because it is a twisty-turny movie.
So, I would highly recommend, I don't know, skipping the next 25 minutes.
You can stream it wherever you can find it. It's on Cinemax. It's on a bunch of different places.
Yeah.
It's 90 minutes long. Go watch Enemy first because we're going to start talking spoilers.
It's exactly 90 minutes.
It's a good fucking time for a movie. Yeah.
That's exactly 90 minutes.
So, this is, like I talked about last week as well, something where I've been trying for a while to find something to tack in here where it's like, I want to find something that Jake's going to like more than I do, and that'll be my recommendation for him. Like, not try to push something on him and be like, hey, I found this thing. I don't think, I like it. I think it's, if you had recommended this movie to me, it would have been a 2.
Yeah. And I could see that. I can understand that.
But I was like, I think this is a 3 for Jacob. So if it's a 3 from you that I recommended and it's a 2 for me, I feel like I've completed my goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You completed your goal, sir.
Fuck yeah.
I feel like if we saw this in theaters, we would both walk out being like, that was really good.
Yes.
And I would be like, that was incredible.
I will say this too. see this movie with someone like what Jake and I do. We like talking about stuff with each other. If you know someone that you like talking about movies and weird, you know, your own theories about things.
One of the fun things is it's very cerebral, which means there's a lot to interpret
and
on your own.
Open-ended too.
Yes.
It doesn't, and you know I hate a movie that's open-ended.
Right.
But I like this one just enough because it's open-ended.
It feels like on purpose.
It feels
small. More on purpose than anything.
There's like 6 people in this movie.
Yes.
It's a very small movie, so I like an open-ended movie like that. I don't like open-ended movies
It
like...
leaves questions, but it doesn't leave a lot of questions.
Yeah,
you know?
the questions don't really have a big weight to them.
Yeah.
It's not like
It's
Under
more-
the Skin, where it's like, so she was a shape-shifting alien the whole time, or anything like that. This
How
is just
dare
like,
you spoil Under the Skin?
fuck Under the Skin. I'm
movie's
so
great.
sad that we even had to talk about that movie.
Love that movie.
Is that one of the ones that got deleted?
What do you mean?
We lost it. No, we lost the Lucy
We lost
episode,
Lucy.
which was in response to
Which
Under
is
the
a
Skin.
1. Yeah.
No,
We both have a Scojo 1.
Lucy is great. So, yeah,
Yes, that's movie.
plot of this movie
Go for it.
starts with Jake Gyllenhaal. He plays a college professor named Adam.
Yeah.
He lives in Toronto. He does it's a weird sepia tone that all kind of movies were back
I
then.
do really love the color grading in this movie.
Yeah.
I honestly do.
Yeah.
It looks piss yellow the whole time, but it's
I went with sepia because I'm classy. but
so
you could say
good. It's
piss
definitely
yellow if
not
you want.
sepia. That is
It's old timey.
It's not. It's meant to give the grime of a city.
I will say this. I like how a lot of movies are shot in Toronto.
Yeah.
This one's set in Toronto. You're
Yes.
like, that's a nice change of pace.
That guy was like,
It's not just shot in Toronto. You're like, this is New York, everybody. Pay attention.
and it works with the story itself because since so many movies are shot in Toronto,
Yeah.
that's why he's able to be so close
So
to another character.
Jake Gyllenhaal, he's just kind of a professor. He lives this life, and it's just kind of the same life. You see a couple days in a row,
Yeah.
and it's just monotonous. That's the kind of drive that you're trying to get.
And he's telling you about how dictatorships control the narrative
He's
to
a-
get you to believe things.
He's a history professor.
yes.
And he ends up going, one of his friends, co-workers, not a friend, asked him if he's seen any good movies lately. He's like,
just
why
making
don't you check
small
this
talk.
out? And he's like,
Yeah.
what movie should I rent? And he says, the movie, there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
He's like, have you seen it? And he's like, no. And he goes and checks out the movie.
He says, I want something happy.
Right.
Yes.
He watches the movie, and he notices one of the background actors, small guy, bellhop number 2,
He doesn't
I believe.
notice.
is
He has a dream.
yeah.
That's the other thing.
comes
He
to
watches the movie.
He comes to the
He
conclusion.
goes to bed, has a dream, and he's like, oh, wow.
yeah.
And then he goes back and scrubs the movie to find
One of the background actors looks exactly like
Yes.
him, like doppelganger status.
Yes.
He does some research, everything like that, finds out that the actor's name is Anthony Clare, who goes by the stage name Daniel St. Clair,
Yeah.
because that's a great friggin' stage name.
Daniel St. Clair.
Goes on and gets into contact with Daniel, follows him, finds him. This guy looks exactly
Yeah.
like me. Switches to Daniel's perspective when Adam's trying to get, or Anthony's perspective when Adam's trying to get in touch with him. He's not a super famous actor.
No.
He's not really a working actor. He's married. His wife is pregnant. Things aren't going well in their relationship. You get that when Adam first calls Anthony, and Anthony hangs up the phone. His wife's like, was that her? Are
Yeah.
you seeing her again? So you immediately get this nice show don't tell thing of
Yeah.
he's cheated on his wife. She's pregnant. Clearly this relationship isn't super duper great.
Yeah.
And that's where shit just goes awry. So I want you to break down from your perspective, because this, like we said, is an open-ended movie. Where does this movie go from there, from when Adam and Anthony first get in contact with each other?
So when they first get in contact, it goes from the obsession into the malicious of it, because it's called enemy, and it's like you're your own worst enemy type thing.
Yeah.
Where the setup of the cheating is, tantamount to Anthony being a bad person.
Right.
And that's what they're saying. And it's not that they look alike, it's that they are alike.
Right.
Because they meet up at a hotel room, and that's when they see each other face to face. And Anthony's like, yeah. He's like, show me your hands. And he's like, yep, that's exactly. He's like, you have a scar on your chest. He's like, just like me. He's like, you got this, don't you? And that's when.
But Adam doesn't lift up his shirt, though. He just leaves.
Adam gets freaked out at that, because Adam is just obsessive because he's bored and he's found something and he's like, this is crazy, and I just want to explore it. But he's also a fucking weirdo, as it's shown, and he gets freaked out when he's like, and I got the scar on the chest. That's when he's like, I'm getting out of here.
Right.
And that's when Anthony is like, I can do something with this.
Right.
You know?
So Adam has a
Anthony's
girlfriend, and Anthony
Yes.
starts to follow Adam's girlfriend.
Yes.
Sees her on a bus, everything like that. And at the beginning of the movie, you get a vibe because there's like an underground. It's not
At the very
it's not
beginning
a
of the movie,
specific
it's a
sex club,
there's an underground place where a woman is pleasuring herself on stage,
and then
when
squishing
another woman shows up with a box that has a tarantula in it that she is going to step on with a high-heeled
stiletto.
shoe. Yeah, like a stiletto. And you could tell that it's like a debaucherous place. That
Right,
men
it's
go
one of
to
those
watch.
creepy, like Eyes Wide Shut style places where you're just like a bunch of dimly lit dudes smoking cigarettes, and you're like, all right, these guys are really into watching this lady step on this tarantula.
Jake Gyllenhaal is there.
Right.
And you find out watching the movie that it must be Anthony that's there.
You think
watching
because that's the thing. We should have gone with that. It starts with that scene, and then you see Jake Gyllenhaal as just a bumbling, but just like a boring professor. You're like, why was he at this cool sex club? And then you're like, it was the other guy that was at this sex club.
You can tell that's the boredom type thing is in Anthony too.
Right.
Where he's doing these weird things.
Yeah.
For
Because
kicks.
his wife's pregnant. And,
His wife's pregnant. His wife is really cool. She
rocks.
was somebody that she got the phone call first.
Right.
When Adam called the house, she picked up and she was like, Anthony, like, this is weird. Like, why are you saying these weird things? And then she starts getting freaked out. And then she goes and finds the professor.
Adam.
At the
school.
college.
Yeah. He's sitting outside on a bench.
Yeah. She sits down next to him. Well, sits down at a bench near him. And he just talks to her a little bit. Like, when you do, how long have you been,
How far along are you?
How far along?
That sort of
That's
thing.
like,
Which you should never ask a woman.
Yeah. How's that? I always think about that Brian Regan bit.
Yeah.
Where he's like, you always catch yourself saying it,
Yeah.
but you always bring it out louder. She's like, how's that baby doing? How's that baby?
Brian Regan's one of the goats.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely. And it freaks her out. And it freaks her out in that way that it's like she knows something that's up. That's what I picked up. Because she goes back.
When you see a guy, in the way the movie's set up,
when
that's how someone would act if they saw a stranger that looked exactly like their spouse.
I was thinking about that too. Because I was like, I might think it was funny. Or I might be like, if I saw somebody that looked exactly like Taylor out there, I would probably be like, Taylor, I saw somebody that looked exactly like you.
Yeah.
But
would you tell that person?
I don't think so. No, unless there was a conversation already happening.
Right.
And I'd be like, I have to tell you, you look just like my buddy Taylor.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm going to take a picture with you so I can send it to him because that's really going to freak him out.
Yeah.
But I think we would probably laugh at it.
Would you be like, are you his Jake Gyllenhaal enemy?
But it like ruins her day.
Yes.
To the point where Anthony...
She calls him. After Adam walks away, she calls her husband. Just be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she tells him on the couch because he's like, what's going on? You haven't been right all day. And she's like, I went and saw the professor. And she's like, it's like, she like alludes that there's something up. It's just like, did you do something? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that's kind of fun stuff because it was like, you do weird stuff. And this is probably some of that weird stuff because Anthony is already given the thing with the chest being like, you got scarred just like me, don't you?
Yeah.
He knows something that's going on. And that's what I like about this movie a whole bunch is that there's stuff going on that they're not going to clue you in on.
And also at this point, it's an hour and a half movie. We're probably an hour in now.
Yes.
Like,
it
so
takes
this
a while
movie,
for this movie
to ramp
start.
Up. It's a slow burn,
stuff.
which I know you love a slow burn too.
Slow burn's great, and it's great because the cinematography is very claustrophobic, and it makes me feel like I should be panicking with him, with the music, with the soundtrack being the way it is. I am also being like, ooh, wow, like things are happening, and I'm like, oh, this is spooky.
Yeah.
And so...
And also, there's weird shots like you were talking about with the cinematography. At this point in the movie, there's just a shot of Anthony looking out over the Toronto skyline.
Yeah.
And there literally is a gigantic tarantula that he sees.
Yeah.
Like, it's
gigantic spider.
It's
that's
fucking
just walking.
Cloverfield monster, like long leg,
bigger than the
skyscrapers.
skyscrapers.
Yes.
Twice the size of a skyscraper.
Yeah.
And it's like...
And it's unexplained. He's not like freaking out like, holy shit, do you guys see that? He just kind of stares at it and he's like,
and
shit.
It's definitely... I don't think it's a... I don't know. I wouldn't say definitely, but I don't think it's a real spider.
No, you're seeing it from his perspective.
Yes.
You can tell that he sees it and he reacts to it just like, huh.
I don't even know if he's reacting to it.
Yeah.
That would be my understanding.
So at this point, they get in, and Anthony gets up with Adam, and he's acting in the mirror, and he's talking to him.
Yeah.
He's talking to himself in the mirror, and he's like, all right, I'm going to be like, did you fuck my wife?
Yeah.
Did you fuck my wife? And he's like, he's
punching,
acting.
because it seems like he's rehearsing
He's an
what
actor.
he's going to say, and it feels like he's just like, I'm ramping myself up for the confrontation until he's like, yeah, that's going to do it. And then he just laughs to himself, and he's like, oh, he's setting him up.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm going to have sex with your girlfriend.
Exactly.
And you're
That's
like,
his whole plan. He's like, I'm going to take your girlfriend on a little romantic getaway.
Yeah.
And he says, I think it's a great speech. Gyllenhaal fucking crushes in this movie.
He's amazing in this movie.
One of his best roles.
His mannerisms between Anthony and Adam are really great.
It's that double role, but he does a good well.
Yes.
The Prince of Persia
Love these
himself
things, dude.
crushing this as an actor.
Yeah.
I've loved Gyllenhaal since Donnie Darko. Like, he's a great actor.
Yeah, he's killing it.
And
this thing.
But his whole plan is, he says, I'm going to take your little girlfriend out for a nice romantic weekend, and you're never going to have to see me again.
Yes. He's like, I just want to have sex with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then I'm gone.
One more time. And he's like, I'm going to take her out for a weekend. You'll never see me again.
He leaves with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Adam decides, I'm just going to go over to his wife. So you're like, already Adam's a jerk as well.
And when he gets there, the wife comes home, and he's already there posing as Anthony. And she says, oh, I thought you said you were going out tonight. And he's like, no,
I thought you were with your mother's.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Adam goes to have a conversation with his mother.
Who is Isabella Rossellini.
Yes.
French actress.
Wonderful woman. And
she does that motherly thing where it's just like, I'm so disappointed.
because she goes to be like, do I have a brother that you didn't tell me about?
Right.
And she's like, I'm insulted by this question. I never want you to bring it up again.
You're my only child.
You're my only child, and it's just as delusional as your ideas of being a film actor.
And this is Adam talking to her.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
And there's
what
another
is
thing
that?
where Anthony says, did you get those blueberries I like?
Yeah.
You got the wrong blueberries. You're supposed to get the organic blueberries for my
Yes.
shake. He's like that kind of dickhead.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I need the organic ones for my shake, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then when Adam goes to see Isabella Rossellini, she gives him dessert. It's blueberries. He goes, I hate blueberries. And she says, no, you
don't.
love blueberries. You know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she says, Adam,
I love that stuff.
You have a good job.
Yeah.
You have a woman who loves you.
Yes.
And you gave up being an actor or something like that. So
Yes.
it's just fucking building at that point. So Anthony goes and... All right, break down the ending from your perspective. So then I've got thoughts.
Adam goes over to the wife.
Yeah.
Okay. While Anthony's having the weekend, and they're having the weekend, Adam is
Not the singer of the weekend. They're having a romantic.
they're having a romantic weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Adam is actually like
bonding with the wife.
Well, he's bashful about it. He's shy. You can tell that he's reticent about making anything, but she's coaxing. She's like, come to bed. And he's like going to bed. He's still wearing his clothes, trying to get to bed. She's like, you're not going to take off your clothes, get in bed. And
then one of the sweetest line deliveries I've ever seen in my life. He puts his head on Anthony's wife's shoulder, and she just says, how was school today?
Yep. That's great.
And you're just taking it as like she knows it's him. She knows it's him, and she doesn't care because her husband is such a dickhead.
Yes.
That she's like, I know that it's I know it's you. I know it's the professor.
Yeah, they try to go to sleep.
Right.
And he can't sleep. So he wakes up, he's crying on the couch, and she comes out, and she's like, I want you to stay. And she's like, I want you to stay. And you're like, wow.
Right.
Like, this is crazy stuff. And then they have sex while Anthony and Adam's girlfriend are coming back from their romantic trip.
Because she sees his, he's got
the tan
line on it for his wedding
from the wedding ring.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's wrong.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And they have a fight.
It's the most like low effort gaslighting.
Yes.
When he's like, that's always been there. It's like, no, it hasn't.
You are a wild woman, woman. And so they're driving back home. And she's like, they're fighting in the car.
Yeah,
and
she's
he's
like, drive me home.
Just get out. And so he's leaning over to open the door, and they crash.
Yep. Crash
Killing
into
each
a
other
pillar.
instantly.
Boom. Big car crash.
Yeah. It's making news on the radio, which they turn off, which Adam and Anthony's wife turn off in the morning.
Helen is her name, by the way.
Helen. So they he's starting to just feel
dressed.
out.
Yeah, he's putting on
dressing
Anthony's
up in his
clothes. Yeah.
And he's starting to feel out. And then what we didn't mention is he picked up mail from the
actor,
the agency.
Yeah.
And he finds it again in the clothes that he's starting to put on.
Yep.
And it opens it up, and it's the key
To the sex club.
the key to the weird place. And that when he's holding it, he's like, "Hey, I think we're gonna go out tonight." And he's like, "Helen," like she's not responding. He goes over into the bedroom, and it's just a gigantic tarantula that backs up into the corner.
Scared spider.
Scared spider.
Yeah.
And then it just shows Jake Gyllenhaal's kind of confused face, and then it says, "The end."
Yep.
Beautiful.
You loved it.
Yes.
So,
So
what does the ending mean to you?
there is only one Jake Gyllenhaal. There's only one.
There's only one.
There's only one.
Yeah.
And he's a professor who
Used to be an
moonlights,
actor.
wants to be an actor, and cheats on his wife with this woman. He doesn't live in that apartment. He, has that apartment to cheat on his wife.
Right.
And his wife knows about this stuff. So it's also him just giving that duality of himself to forgive himself.
Yeah.
And I think the ending is, interpretation. She doesn't turn into a spider.
You think
actually.
he's just full on like crazy?
No, I don't think he actually sees a spider. I think
Do you think he sees a split personality?
I think the movie shows us a spider. I think she realizes that he's still cheating on her, that he probably killed the girl that he's cheating on her with.
So yeah, there's so many levels to this. I'm like, my whole takeaway with it was, I was like, all right, you get past the point where I agree with you that there aren't two Jake Gyllenhaals.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think, is the other girl even real?
I think she's real. And I think...
So do you think she actually died?
Because I don't think they're girlfriend, because their relationship is... she comes over, they have sex, it's rough, and she doesn't like it, and she leaves in a flourish every time.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a using her type of relationship.
Right.
And that's what he's distancing himself away as Anthony.
Right.
So to me, she is real, and he's slowly wanting to get back to being the good husband, and so he kills her to try and be a good husband.
So you think he flat out killed the girl?
Yes. And then his wife finds out.
But when?
In the car crash.
When did that take place, though?
Like that weekend.
But he was at the house with her. Or you think that was just shown together in the film, but they didn't take place at the same time?
They didn't take place at the same time. That's what I think.
Got it.
Yeah. It happened during the weekend, and he wants to go back. He thinks he can go back to his normal life.
Yeah, and I think the kind of whole thing at the end of it with most of the stuff that I saw online was like, she's a spider at the end, because at the beginning, the spider in the sex club, like the spider's getting killed.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of he likes, is something to destroy. So when he says he gets the key and he's like, I'm going back out, she turns into a spider because he's like, yeah, I'm flipping over into that personality again. Like he's
That's
just going to be a bad person again.
But what I saw when
And she's scared when she's in the spider form, because like he sees women as like the spider. Like, and that's why he saw the giant spider walking over Toronto, because he's like, yeah, there's ladies out there. And like his desire and his bad behavior is the spider, like, killing the spider. Because the thing about spiders is, like, most people are afraid of spiders.
Yeah.
But him killing the spider is like his power trip, whatever, weird domination nonsense.
Yeah, sure.
And so when he sees her as a spider again, it's like, oh yeah, she's going to be a victim again, because I'm going to keep doing my bad boy shit.
Well, when I saw a spider backed in the corner like that, like, I know that's when a spider's most dangerous. Like, that's when a spider's going to hurt you.
That's not how I took it. I took it as like very scared.
That's what I mean. It's scared, but that's also when it's going to do something.
And also, most tarantulas aren't venomous.
No, but they'll jump and they will attack.
They're spooky.
Yeah,
they're big.
They're not venomous,
yeah.
but they will. If you back them into a corner,
Yeah.
like I just had a friend that like had like 3 different spiders.
Don't be friends with that person.
Always wanted me to hold one of them, and I was like, never. I never want to hold them.
Yeah.
And he was like, the only one you got to worry about is that one, and I can't even remember what it was, but it was a gigantic brown spider. And he's like, and only worry about it when it gets in the corner, because that's when it's going to jump and attack you.
Fuck no.
I was like, I don't want to hold any of these. But so that's how I know it's like, it's scared. She's scared, but she's also going to make a move
Because she's a mama
on
spider
him
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. She's going to stop
Yeah.
this from happening anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely open to interpretation. And I will say, out of all the open to interpretation movies that we've talked about, this is probably right up there with me. But since I don't like this would still be a 2 from me.
Understood.
I will say this.
Not your style of movie.
Going back to this whole thing, my favorite character in the entire plot is Jake Gyllenhaal's coworker. Because I went back...
The movie guy?
No, the guy that recommended the movie.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was being such a big dick to his coworker that was a failed actor.
Yeah.
And when his friend's like, what movie should I recommend? And he says the movie that he was in, that he was a bit part in. It's like, why don't you read that, dickhead?
That's kind of funny.
I know. I thought about that afterwards. I was like, God, that guy sucks. I love him so much. Like, you have some failed actor that you work with. He's like, why don't you recommend a movie to me? It's like, why don't you watch the stupid fucking movie where you're a bellboy for 30 seconds, dickhead? Stop being such a mopey prick. You've got a great wife and a great life. Just give up.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. That's just my big takeaway from the movie.
I truly enjoyed that movie. Immensely.
Denis Villenueve.
Yeah.
Villenueve.
I would still say, if you haven't seen
Denis Vanilla Beans.
any Denis movie, I would still recommend Arrival as the top.
That's probably a good entryway. I'd recommend Dune.
I mean, yeah, dude. Yeah. But I think Arrival is very playful and very original.
Yeah.
And
this is a good one, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie's great.
All right. Let's check out Enemy. It gets a 3 from Jake.
Hell yeah.
And a 2 from me. And yeah. So let's get into Jake's recommendation for me. Episode 92 of the podcast Darknet Diaries.
Yeah.
Hosted by...
His name's Jack Rhysider.
Jack Rhysider. This is a 2021 episode called The Pirate Bay. So... Jake, why'd you recommend this one to me? It's been a while since we've done a podcast.
Yeah. One, it's been a while since we've done a podcast.
Yeah.
So I was just like, kind of wanted to mix it up just a little bit. 2, it's been technology's, since it's become my career field, it's been more interesting to me. And this was recommended to me from somebody else that's in this field. He's like, really check this out because it's compelling stories about crime, web tech crime, you know.
Yeah.
And it's told in a way that's interesting and also kind of enlightening, you know. The crime in the tech world feels like like you can't understand it, but Jack puts it in a way that it's very understandable. And when I started listening to it, I was like, this is just true crime. And I was like, I think our buddy Taylor would like this type of true crime stories. And I just wanted you to start with the Pirate Bay one because I think you understood what the Pirate Bay is.
Yes. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's a very well-produced podcast, which I'm not usually a fan of super produced podcasts. It definitely has the kind of, I think...
NPR feel to it.
NPR, Serial made it the most famous. We talked about that BJ Novak movie.
Yes.
Fucking, what was that? Vengeance.
Yes.
It's kind of that kind of vibe where he's talking to one of the founders of the Pirate Bay. I think it was... was it Frederick?
Yeah.
That he was talking?
I believe so.
Yeah. So he was talking to one of the Swedish guys that made up the Pirate Bay. The Pirate Bay, if people don't know, it's a still running platform where people can find torrents for uploading anything.
Yeah.
And then more people can download it from different streams, and that you have something downloaded and it's on the torrent, then more people can seed it from you, everything like that. I'm going to Google something real quick.
Go for it.
I'm going to Google statute of limitations for internet piracy. 5-year statute of limitations for a federal prosecutor to bring a case. So I'm going to say this. I used to pirate a bunch of shit in college. And in case I Googled that wrong, allegedly, I used to pirate a bunch of shit in college.
Yeah, I figured you knew what the Pirate Bay
I'm well
was.
versed in what the Pirate Bay is, in theory. I'm going to just toe this fun line because I don't want to get demonetized or not be allowed to advertise on YouTube anymore. So, yeah, I remember when piracy came out, when I got access to high-speed internet.
Yeah.
And someone's just like, have you seen, I think at that point I was like, Arrested Development? And I was like, no, do you have a DVD I could borrow? They're like, what the fuck are you talking about, DVD you can borrow? Just go to the internet. Everything's on the internet.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my, it was a Willy Wonka chocolate factory moment with me. Where it's just like, come with me and you'll see.
That was beautiful.
Fucking everything you've ever wanted is right here on the internet. I had a dial-up modem, so let's just say, like in high school, if I wanted to download from Napster when Napster was big, I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
I would have to set something to download and then go to bed.
Yeah.
And in the morning, I would hopefully have whatever Eminem song I wanted, but sometimes it would just be an ad, or sometimes it would just be a virus.
Yeah.
The Pirate Bay, the guys that run it are, from what I gathered from the interview, and Jack Rhysider, can't recommend this podcast enough. I listened to one of the more recent episodes he did called The Pig Butcher.
Yes.
Which John Oliver did a deep dive last week.
Really?
On Last Week Tonight about pig butchering.
Oh, okay.
That's where the scams and shit are just horrible. It's where the whole premise of that is they fatten someone up like a pig and then take all their money.
Yeah. And then they harvest.
John Oliver went his route to make everything super sad.
Yeah.
Where he was like, most of these people are basically slaves and they're being forced to do this.
Yeah.
Because the world's a bummer and John Oliver's there to tell us about it.
Yeah. People don't think that tech crime, they just think it's just this shadowy thing where, these clever people. But no, it's like this horrible situations.
And also, a lot of people want to think that the people that are committing these frauds and tax crimes are the terrible people. But then it turns out a lot of times that there are groups behind them that are kind of forcing and coercing people.
A lot. It's a lot of manipulation.
Not just the manipulation on the part of manipulating the people you're stealing from, but the forcing people to manipulate other people. It's kind of similar to what we talked about a couple weeks ago in the telemarketers episode.
Yeah.
Which go back and watch that one on YouTube because I wasn't allowed to advertise on it. But it's, click on it. And it's just like people are doing this out of necessity. Sometimes. They're not doing it because they're bad people.
Yeah.
The Pirate Bay episode specifically was great because these people are just like, copyrights don't exist. Like, everything is free. Get into it. And then Jack does a great job as the host of breaking down what is a copyright law.
Yes.
In this episode, first of all, this is a 3 from me. Podcast is a 3. This episode
I knew you'd love it.
Right up my alley.
Yes, sir.
Just so great. Like a little cybercrimey. Really. And
when it got down to it, when I was understanding, like, because I listened to a lot of these episodes, and where to the point.
Oh, it's on my queue to listen to the back catalog and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's one of those things now I'm just scrolling through and I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. And
when I was getting to, like, the people that, like, are hired to break into tech offices and tech buildings and stuff.
They call it a white hat hacker.
Yeah, well, almost. But, like, they're
man,
literally...
that sounded cool. Why you got to say almost?
Because they literally break into places.
Oh, you're talking about physically breaking in?
Yes.
Like a beekeeper would.
Yeah, well, mostly like a beekeeper.
Have you watched The Beekeeper yet?
No, I have not.
Watch The fucking Beekeeper, Jake.
It'll be a while, buddy.
God damn it.
But when I was listening to that, I was like, Taylor's going to really get a kick out of these stories that these people have.
Yeah.
Jack talks to really, really interesting people. Some of them are so sad and scummy. Some of them are just fascinating.
You know I love a scummy con man.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite people on the planet.
There's the story of this woman who just had her life ruined for years by one guy just posting her nudes. And
that's horrible.
Her fight to get this
you gotta
thing.
say that right after I love scummy con man.
Yeah, dude.
And then you're like, oh, here's this shithead.
Yeah. Well, guess what? It's a great episode.
I'm sure.
And her story is incredible.
Huh.
So I was like, you're going to love these episodes. So I was like, hell yeah. Knew you were going to love it.
Yeah. Oh, I can't recommend this one highly enough. I think everyone should definitely give Darknet Diaries a listen. He's got a bigger platform than we do. But yeah, if you're looking for a way, and I like that you recommended this one from 2021 because it will make you. What episode number is this? I should probably look. Episode number 92. Super well produced too.
Yes.
Like just crazy. And like I said, I don't normally like this super, obviously I'm not a big fan of the super produced style of podcast. But just really narrative driven and had questions, had opened up with his thesis statement about what is copyright. He goes on a little bit of a Ship of Theseus style analogy. It's like, so if I bought a CD, I'm allowed to give it to you and let you listen to it. But I'm not allowed to make a copy of it and give it to you to let you listen to. Yeah. And then it's like, if I buy out a CD, am I allowed to download that MP3 file? Because who uses CDs anymore? Yeah. And this was all in, the Pirate Bay days when allegedly people might have been downloading stuff. It was before we have stuff like Spotify. Like now I have Spotify. I pay for Spotify Premium. Like I'm on an account. And on my account, I pay for the kid's account too. My kid will never have to pirate music because we're in a
It's too convenient.
music piracy age.
I mean, I wish Spotify would pay artists better. Absolutely. But when it's more convenient to pay, that's why you do it.
What's the saddest thing you ever pirated?
The saddest thing I've ever pirated?
Like, not like sad, like a sad movie, but just like, why did I even bother stealing this?
You don't want to know. It's pretty stupid.
I'll give you mine.
With it because
do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I tried to get in shape once.
Yeah.
Well, one of the many times that I've tried to get in shape, and I allegedly torrented the P90X DVDs.
Dude,
like from those late night infomercials. I was just like, oh, I could get jacked.
I got that,
but I don't have $39.95, so like I could do this. And I watched like 10 minutes on my stupid Dell laptop, and I'm just like, yeah, I probably didn't even need to download.
I did the same exact thing, man.
You downloaded
P90X? Yes, I did. I still would say that's my saddest one.
We're so swole now, obviously.
My thing, just to have it, just to own it.
What?
Tila Tequila's sex tape.
Oh.
Yeah.
She was a thing for a while,
yeah,
wasn't she?
she was. And when she finally leaked, in quotes, her sex tape leaked.
No, by that time, when people
I was like, I'm downloading this out of spite.
Yeah. I'm not going to pay for it.
I want her to remember. She's a Nazi now.
I will say the guy that he interviews from the Pirate Bay, it's one of the three guys.
Yeah.
He was one of the most flippant Swedish dickheads.
Yes.
And it just comes off as charming.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell he's a big asshole.
Yes. He's a
but he also does not care.
Very pompous, very full of himself. But I don't... All right, give me a little Swedish accent. You're the king of accents here.
I don't think I could.
I like it as Swedish chef.
That's all I got, and I don't want to do it.
Yeah. It always comes off as German when I try to do a Swedish accent.
Yeah, if I wanted to try it, it would just be German.
So I'm not going to do the accent, but the whole thing is like when Jack's interviewing him, it's like, oh, so you got arrested. What did you do? He's like, oh, we just kept up the Pirate Bay.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you just did it? He's like, yes, because in Sweden you do not have to go to jail because the human deserves to be free.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what?
I just love it. He's fined.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't pay it. He's like, it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
And I thought it was great how much he talks about how like Disney and people were coming after him, and to the point where they sent over someone from like the Bush White House to Sweden, like, hey, you got to shut this down. And the Swedish are like, no, we're not going to shut them down. And it's like, well, then you can't import Volvos anymore, and we're going to unless you shut down this thing. And they're like, oh no, the piracy. And they're just like, we don't care. And I was just like, they're so random, and it's a fascinating story. Like, go back and listen to this. Give all of Darknet Diaries a listen.
Yeah.
Flip through and find some. Do this with our podcast too if you want. Flip through and find like back episodes where you're like, oh, I remember that thing. I want to listen about that. Because all of these episodes that I've listened to so far are great. I think Jack does a good job. Just pick something that you find interesting and just go with it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great recommendation, Jake. I don't know how much there's to say about it.
No,
but
I think we nailed it.
Yeah, I think it's a
something to listen to. And if you like true crime, I like this type of true crime
it's like
a lot.
It's closer to true crime than like investigative journalism.
Because it really does like pull the veil.
It's like true crime. It's a little bit CoffeeZilla.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Every once in a while.
Where he like goes to the source a little bit and does that kind of bit of dirt digging.
It does pull the curtains open on the type of crime that feels like unknowable.
Yeah.
You know, and it feels like you can't stop these things, but there's, you know, efforts out there to stop these types of things.
Yeah, the Pirate Bay is still a thing. What's on the Pirate Bay right now?
What's on the Pirate Bay now? Yeah, it's, you know, everything.
Is it piratebay.org?
I dropped my phone. It's because
of the Pirate Bay?
Might be
still looks like shit. That's something you talked about too. The website still looks like shit.
Yeah.
There's
still
a
runs
little
like shit.
Oh my god.
Huh.
You pop on the Pirate Bay and it's pirateproxy.bay.com. It shows you your IP. It says we strongly recommend hiding your IP when torrenting. Use a VPN.
Yeah. Yeah, I use a VPN.
And then it has get a VPN now, 86% off for the Pirate Bay users.
Yeah. Just use a VPN anyway.
That's the kind of brand synergy I can get behind. It's like, hey, we strongly recommend you find a way to hide your crimes. Are you interested in hiding your crimes?
Yeah.
Please do this now. Oh God, that's kind of smart.
Just get a VPN anyway. Don't give people your information.
We should find a VPN sponsor.
I would be down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
VPN sponsor and Audible sponsor too. I like Audible.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Get some free audiobooks. All right, so that's pretty much it for the show, guys. If you want to leave, write us a letter, email, letter.
Write us a letter.
No, I'm not going to give you an address.
Just write a letter. We'll find it.
Send it somewhere. Throw it in a bottle in the ocean.
I probably know you.
Not with them. We're doing some numbers, man. You might not know all these people. Send us an email to upyouralleypod@gmail.com if you have some thoughts on any of these things, want to get in contact with the show, or if you have some recommendations that you think we should take a look at. We've done some listener things in the past.
Yeah.
Be sure to follow us on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. Leave a review. That's always really good. Leave a comment. Leave any comment. It's all good for engagement. And tell your friends about the show. And yeah, let's see if we can get up over 1,000 subscribers as a next milestone to get to.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Let's figure out what we're going to be talking about next week. Jake, what do you got for me?
I got a movie that I know you're going to love.
You got a movie.
I'm excited for you to watch it.
Let's go.
It's called Dinner in America.
What?
Yeah. It's called Dinner in America.
What?
It's a punk rock romance movie.
Dinner in America 2020.
2021, I believe.
It says 2020. I'm on it.
Oh, yeah?
Comedy romance.
Yep.
I've never heard of this.
It's awesome. You're going to love it so much, and I'm so excited. I'm very happy that I nailed it this time. Looking forward to a 3 next week. You're going to love this movie. You're absolutely going to love it.
I don't like your confidence.
It's the type of punk rock that we enjoy, brother.
Really?
Yes. It's so good.
Oh, you can stream it on Apple TV Plus.
It's so good at being the punk rock that we enjoy. Where it's not
like SLC punk, is it?
It's kind of like that, where it doesn't take itself seriously.
Okay.
You know, it's fun. It's very, very fun.
I've never heard of this movie, and I don't think I've heard of many of the people in this movie.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to... I've given up on the Oscar movies. I've seen all of the Oscar movies that I think...
Yeah, that you want to watch.
That I have any real interest in.
I still want to see Zone of Interest.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that.
That's the director of Under the Skin.
Is it really?
Yeah, Jonathan Glazer. Yeah, I want to see that movie.
Oh, yeah, I knew that. So I've got something from you that I think was, after watching it, I think was a missed opportunity for an Oscar nomination in particular. The 2023 film Blackberry. It is streaming now on Hulu.
Yeah.
Specifically for Glenn Howerton's performance alone.
Yeah.
There is no one that can do an off-the-handle psychopath like Glenn Howerton. And I'm pushing this out there because I've tried to get you on a business movie.
Yeah.
And boy, do you have a business movie coming up in April for All Affleck April.
Air?
Maybe.
Oh, my God.
It's probably Air. It's definitely Air. We're going to watch Air in April.
A preemptive one.
You haven't seen Air.
I'm not interested.
Okay. I'll say this
I'll
now.
watch it, that's for sure.
You're going to like Blackberry more than you're going to like Air.
I'm sure, because it's Glenn Howerton.
Yes. And Jay Baruchel.
The things that I see him doing.
And this is very, very Canadian.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's Canadian shot. It's like CBC, everything like that. Because Blackberry is a
Canadian company?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I know you love Canadian stuff. So this is a business movie. It's a find the thing movie. It was a toss-up between whether I was going to give you this or Tetris.
Yeah.
I decided to go with Blackberry over Tetris.
Better choice. Yeah.
Probably. Have you seen Tetris?
No.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in the Blackberry story than the Tetris story.
They're making all those movies now.
Yeah. And
this one I think is going to be your favorite.
Okay.
So Jake's going to watch Blackberry. That's available to stream on Hulu. I'm going to watch Dinner in America. That's available to stream on Apple TV Plus. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Tell your friends about the show. Jake, love you, brother.
I love you, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.